Hello, thanks for joining me today. My name is Sarah Lair, and I am creating a class for a kind of a gentle yoga style. Since I won't be able to be there this Monday, I miss you all, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again next week. But until then, I hope you can take this class and enjoy it, moving at your own pace. Um, just remembering that any point in time that you need to take a break, you're always welcome to just come to child's pose or take a seat or just come to standing and take a few breaths. I'll try to work through some modifications. And just as always, listen to your body and let that be your guide. And let's go ahead and get started. So for today's class, if you have some blocks, great. If you don't, no worries. Um, and then if you have a strap, that's awesome. If not, again, you can always use a belt, a tie, a towel, um, anything like that at home. But it's not anything that we're going to have it. It just might be nice to be able to use as a prop. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's start on our backs today. So just take some time to come into your space and find a comfortable position on your mat. So as we start on our backs, you might choose to come back flat on your mat, maybe with the legs out long, arms to your side. You might also choose, for me, it's a little bit of strain on my back, so I always bend my knees just a little bit. I might even bring the knees together, let the feet come wide. Or you can do the opposite, bringing the feet together, letting the knees fall wide. And you can use those blocks, or maybe if you have pillows at home, if you want a more gentle shape right here at the beginning. But if you're looking for a little bit of a hip opener to start, this would be a good shape for you. Otherwise, again, legs can be long, or you can have a gentle bend through the knees. So coming on your back, letting your eyes close or letting your gaze soften. We'll slowly start to take a moment, just noticing how the body feels here. Then taking a moment to try and clear the mind of any thoughts or to-do lists that you might have going on in your head. Trying to take the next hour for yourself, taking time to relax, taking time for movement, taking time for breath. If you haven't already, we'll slowly bring our focus into our breathing. Just trying to lengthen through our inhale and our exhale. Hands might even come on to your belly to help you become a little more mindful of your breath here. So trying to breathe in and out through the nose, but if that's uncomfortable, you can always just make it work for whatever works best for you. The main thing we want to do is slow down the pace of breath and see if we can't lengthen our inhale and our exhale. Let's take one more round of breath here. And then when you're ready, if the legs aren't already long, see if you can bring them nice and long. Reaching the arms up overhead. Just taking a deep breath in, reaching the arms and the feet opposite direction. Deep breath out. Let it relax. One more time, deep breath in, reaching the arms and the feet opposite directions. And then deep breath out. We'll slowly let the feet walk up the mat. And then hug the knees into the body here. You might even give yourself a little rock side to side. And then from here, we're going to keep that right knee into the body. Let the left leg come long. So it might feel good to let the left foot come to the earth with a slight bend in the knee, or you might be able to bring that leg nice and long for a little bit of a deeper stretch. While you're here, we're hugging right knee in toward the body. Just pausing for a breath. And then let's take a moment warming up through the ankle, just pointing and flexing the toe. And then when you're ready, maybe a couple little ankle circles to the right and back to the left. From here, we're going to take your knee and make a couple little circles. So starting to the right, a couple of circles out here. And then we might go in opposite direction, making these circles as gentle, or sorry, as small or as big as you are ready to take them, what feels good here. And then from here, we're just going to let the left hand guide the right knee across the body for a little bit of a spinal twist. So again, if you have a block or a pillow or bolster, you could always let your hand guide the knee over to the block at any of those different heights if you'd like to keep a little more gentle on that twist. But you're always welcome to bring that knee a little bit closer to the earth. So finding what feels right to you. Maybe keeping it a little more gentle as we're beginning our class today. We'll revisit these twisting shapes at the end of class when our spine's a little more warmed up. One more breath. Then we'll bring everything back through center, hugging the knee into the body one more time. And then let the right hand take hold of the knee and just let the leg open up slightly to the side. So again, you might have a block that you place or pillow, letting it rest underneath that knee to help keep the shape a little more gentle if you'd like, or you can just hold it with your arm. One more breath here. And then we'll bring everything back through center, giving it one more hug, and then slowly bringing it back down to the earth. So again, right foot can be flat, or you can bring that leg long. We're going to do the alternate side now, hugging left knee in toward the body. Let's just pause here for a few breaths. And then when you're ready, you might add some movement through that foot, pointing and flexing the toes, and then letting the foot kind of roll out to the side, a couple of ankle rolls to the left and to the right. Then when you're ready, we'll take a couple of circles with the knee, just warming up the hip a little bit. So circling it out a few times and then circling it in. And then coming back to center, pausing here, letting the right hand take hold of the left knee, slowly guiding it across the body for that spinal twist. Remember, you can always use a prop to make this shape a little more gentle since we're just at the beginning of our practice here. Pausing for a few breaths. And when you're ready, take your time, bringing everything back through center. We're now going to let the left hand take hold of the knee and just let it open out to the side. So we might just be holding it here. You might bring a block or a prop into play for the leg to rest upon. Again, pausing for a few breaths as we open up the hips just a little bit more. And just take your time when you're ready, bringing everything back through center. You might even walk right foot up, hugging the knees into the body, maybe gentle rock side to side before coming to a seated position and on over to hands and knees. So you might do that by rocking and rolling up. You might create a little bit more of a gentle shape, just rolling to one side, pressing yourself up to seated. And then when you're ready, we're going to move to tabletop. So in that tabletop shape, if you have a blanket nearby, it might be sometime that you'd like to bring this blanket underneath the knees just to give you a little bit more cushion. We've got knees lined up underneath the hips, wrists are lined up underneath the shoulders. We're trying to keep the back nice and flat here. As we come into that tabletop, we're just going to start by bringing the right hand under the forehead, lining it up, and then take a deep breath in, letting the left arm open, just taking it as high as your body is ready to open here. Exhale as you close. Inhale, sweep it open. Exhale, swing it close. One more. Inhale, sweep it open. This time, exhale, letting it close. We're going to slide this arm through, so as if we're threading a needle. And then you can pause right here for a more gentle twist and shoulder opener, or you could lower down a bit with a blanket or a block, letting the shoulder rest. Or maybe the shoulder reaches toward the mat. From here, you have options in this shape. You might let the right arm release and come back to the hip. Or you might press the hips back a little deeper, more like a child's pose with that left arm threaded through. We'll take a few breaths here. When you're ready, take your time, slowly releasing, resetting back to tabletop. And we're going to pause here for a couple of cat-cow breaths. As we inhale, think about letting your belly drop toward the earth. As you exhale, think about pulling the navel in toward the spine. Gaze will look back toward the knees. Let's try that again. Deep breath in, let the belly drop toward the earth. The gaze might even turn up slightly to deepen that back bend. As you exhale, rounding through the spine, letting the chin, or letting the gaze come back toward the knees. Let's move through one more. And then we'll make our way back to that tabletop shape. From here, now right foot's going to come back. We're going to bring the toe to the earth and press back into the heel. So getting a nice stretch through the calf. On your next inhale, we're going to lift that right foot, let it cross over the left leg, and then your gaze will turn over toward that left shoulder. You might even be able to look back toward the left foot. So creating a little bit of a C curve here through the spine. Take a deep breath in, slowly bringing the gaze back through center, bringing right knee back underneath the hip. And then from here, we're going to take a moment just to let the hips rock side to side before we reset back to tabletop. And then when you're ready this time, left hand's going to go underneath the forehead. We'll inhale the right arm open. Exhale, sweep it closed. Inhale it open. Exhale, close. Last time. And this time, we'll bring that right arm through as if we're threading the needle. You can let the shoulder come down toward the earth. It might be on a blanket, a block, or a pillow or bolster, or it might be to the earth. So finding what works for you. Remember, from here, you can stay right here. You might let left hand come to the hip or open up, or you might press back into the hips to take more of a child's pose shape. Again, just finding whichever variation works best for you. Next, inhale, rolls around. Take your time to reset back to tabletop, letting the wrists come underneath the shoulders. And then we're going to take some cat-cow shapes. Inhale, letting the belly drop toward the earth. Exhale, rounding through the spine. Letting the gaze look back toward the knees. 2 more. Coming back to tabletop with a flat back. We're now going to take the left leg back. So the left foot comes back and the toes are pressed to the earth. We're pressing back into the heel to deepen that stretch through the leg. On your next inhale, we'll lift that left foot, let it cross over the right, and then you're going to gaze over toward the right shoulder, maybe even back toward the right foot, or sorry, back toward the left foot this time. Next inhale, we'll bring everything back through center. Just letting the hips rock gently side to side for a moment. And then when you're ready, we're just going to sit back to child's pose for a moment. So you might have the knees together, just sitting the hips back in that direction. Maybe the knees are wide. That's going to just open up through the hips a little more. Arms can reach out long with the forehead resting toward the mat. Or maybe you stack the hands, or you can make fists here for the head to rest upon. Wherever you're most comfortable, pause for a few breaths. On your next inhale, take your time to slowly start to rise up. And then from here, we're just going to come into an upward facing dog. So hips are pressing toward the earth, hands are pressing into the earth, shoulders are lifted, and our gaze, we want to keep our gaze slightly out in front of us. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, let's press back toward child's pose. So creating some fluid movement here. Next, inhale, we'll slowly rock the hips forward, finding upward facing dog. Exhale, take it back. Inhale, coming forward. And exhale, take it back. One more time. Inhale forward. And exhale, bring it back. Beautiful. Pause here for a few breaths. And then when you're ready, we're going to slowly bring ourselves up to tabletop. So for these next few shapes, I'm going to face you, so it's just a little bit easier directional wise. But what you're going to do is you're going to come into your tabletop. And then, let's see, we're going to go ahead and bring that right hand. Let's do it this way. Sorry. So coming up onto the knees for just a moment, we're going to let your right leg come out long, left hand come down to the earth, or you can bring it down to a block. Meanwhile, this leg, toe is going to turn toward the other foot, making that side plank variation. Here we've got a knee to the ground, hand might be to the block, or it might be to the earth. Arm reaching up, or we can have that hand down to the hip. Now, if you're looking for a little bit more of a challenge here, you can always let that right leg hover and flex the foot. If you want a little bit more challenge, or arm can reach up overhead. One more breath here. Good. Slowly release. Bring everything down. You can come back to center. Just pause here. Inhale out and up. You might be lifting up on the knees. You might be sitting back on the heels here, whatever's most comfortable. Beautiful. When you're ready, I'll mirror you again. So this time we're going to bring the left leg out to the side. And then we're going to let the right hand reach toward the earth. Turn the right foot to face the left leg. And then once you slowly start to find your balance, opening up through the shoulders. Pausing here for a breath. Left hand can be to the hip or overhead. Left foot might be to the earth, or you can always flex the foot and let it hover. If you want a little more challenge. When you're ready, take your time. Slowly start to release. You can walk the hands forward, coming back to that tabletop shape. You might choose some cat-cow shapes here. You might choose just to let the hips rock a little side to side, or maybe child's pose feels nice. So any of those variations, we're going to pause here for a few breaths. When your next inhale rolls through, we'll take our time to come back to tabletop for just a moment so we can set ourselves up. If you have blocks nearby, you can use those here. We'll use those in just a moment. Otherwise, no worries. We don't have to have the blocks. It's just if you have a prop, something you can utilize. We're going to tuck the toes under, lift the hips up and back to find downward dog. So think about pressing back into the heels. They may or may not touch the earth, and that's fine. Think about bringing your gaze back towards your feet, lifting the hips up and pressing them back. Now, if the hamstrings or lower back are tight, you might want to give the knees a little bend. I always like to just initially start with a little bend here, and then one leg straightens at a time to deepen that stretch. but that's just a personal preference. So you can kind of play with those and see what feels right to you. We'll just take one more breath in downward dog here. And then when you're ready, our gaze is going to look up toward our hands as we take our time to slowly bring the right foot forward. So it might be something where it takes a couple steps. You might even use a hand to help bring that leg forward so we can slowly bring left knee down to a low lunge. So left knee is to the earth, right foot is to the mat. If you have the blocks, you can use them here, maybe at that higher height, just to bring your chest up, bring your posture up nice and tall. If you don't have blocks, hands can stay to the earth, or you can always let the elbow or the hands rest on top of the knee here. So pausing here for a breath as we're deepening into this lunge. Take a deep breath in as we sit the hips forward. Deep breath out as we slowly start to let the hips come back. So notice, it might be hard to see with the background, but this front knee isn't all the way straight. You don't have to come all the way back. We're just releasing that work, inhaling as we press forward to deepen the stretch. Exhale, set the hips back. Inhale, press forward. And exhale, set it back. Let's take two more here. This next round, we're just going to pause in that low lunge for a few breaths. You know, your lunge might look a little different than mine. They all are going to look slightly different. It might look a little more like this. It might look closer to that 90-degree angle, but wherever it is, as long as you're feeling work, a little bit of a stretch, you are doing it right. All right. When you're ready, take your time. We're going to pause here and let the left hand come to the earth or a block. Right hand's going to open up to the side. It might even rest on the hip. That's going to be a little more gentle variation. Opening the arm will be a little bit deeper stretch here. Take a few breaths. Slowly bring that hand back down to the block or the mat. And from here, we're just going to sit the hips back. Then slide right foot back. It might, again, be something where we take our hand and help it back a little bit here. And then you have the option to press back to child's pose or back to downward dog. And I have my hands on blocks just to give me a little more height, a little more space as I step my leg through, but you can always bring your hands back down to the mat, whatever you feel most comfortable with. So child's pose or downward dog. We'll take a few breaths here before we reset to the opposite side. When you're ready, just take that deep breath in, letting the left leg come forward. Again, it might be a couple steps. You might help that leg with your hand. Just getting there however you need to get there, letting the right knee come to the earth, bringing in a blanket if we need it, keep pushing the leg. Setting up your blocks if you're using them, or placing your hands when you're ready. Inhale as we let the hips press forward, and exhale, take it back. On this next round, let's inhale forward and pause here. So you might stay tall. You might bring hands or forearms to the knee here, the thigh. Taking a few breaths and relaxing. And then when you're ready, right hand will come down to a block or the mat. Left arm is going to open to the hip as we turn our gaze to the left. You might even deepen it by opening that arm up. And deep breath in, back to your center. From here, sit the hips back. Bring that left leg back. Remember, you have options for child's pose or downward dog. We're going to take 3 rounds of breath here. And then from here, take your time just to slowly start to walk the feet forward and come into a forward fold. Hands might be to the earth or the blocks, any of those heights. You might have a little bend in the knees, especially if the hamstrings are tight or if the lower back is having any issues. We're going to take 2 half lifts before we rise up. So as we inhale, think about bringing the head above heart level, bringing the back nice and flat. Exhale, fold. Inhale again, halfway lift, flat back, head above heart level. Exhale as you fold. This time, deep breath in as we rise up. Feel free to bend the knees. Arms can reach up overhead, hands can exhale to the heart. Pausing here, taking a few breaths. Beautiful. All right. So from here, we're going to move through a couple warrior 2 shapes in triangle. So just standing at the top of your mat, we'll start by stepping the right foot back to come into warrior 2. So think about stepping the right foot back, bringing it parallel to the back of your mat. Left toes are facing forward. We have a gentle bend in that front knee, and we're making sure it's not going past the ankle like this. So make sure it's lined up above the ankle or a little bit behind it. Hips are facing the right side of the mat.